Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing another meal prep video. You guys really liked the last one, so I figured I would go ahead and make another one for you. I have a breakfast idea, a couple of snack ideas, as well as another veggie that I prepped for the week. So if that is something you're interested in, just keep on watching. And if you are new here, consider hitting that little red subscribe button. I make lots of food related content. I do what's for dinners every single Sunday with a little bit of motherhood sprinkled in the mix. So if that is something that you are interested in, make sure you are subscribed to my channel. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. To start off this meal prep video, I'm going to be making some baked egg cups. These are a super easy breakfast idea. You can also use them for lunch or even for like a nice high protein snack. They work really well. So first off, I am just cracking off about a dozen eggs into a mixing bowl, and then I will be getting everything else ready to go. So on this particular day, I decided that I wanted to make these egg cups a little bit on the healthier side, and I did them as veggie egg cups, and they were so good. They had so much flavor, so I highly recommend doing them this way. But I have done them a lot of different ways. I've done them with like sausage, done them with bacon. You can do literally whatever, and they taste so good. But I am just starting with cutting up half of a red bell pepper, and then I just softened it in the microwave with a little bit of water, and it's just a quick and easy way to get your vegetables a little bit softer. And then while those veggies were in the microwave, I decided to just cut up the other half of this red bell pepper, and I just chopped this up into little slices. Easton loves red bell pepper, so I just prepped this and they're ready to go for the next couple of days in the fridge. And then I also decided I wanted to add some spinach into the egg cups, and I did quite a bit. I probably did a good 4 to 5 cups of spinach. I just tried to chop it into nice small pieces, and I did try and remove like some of the bigger stems so there weren't big stems in there. But I'm just getting this all cut up and ready to go, and then we're going to be mixing everything together. I like to give my eggs a good mix together before I add in the rest of the ingredients. I feel like sometimes yolks can be a little bit tricky to break up once you have everything else added. So I just give those a quick mix, and then I'm adding in my milk. I did probably right around 3/4 of a cup, but of course you can do what you want. Some people like a little bit more milk, some people like a little less, but I did around 3/4 of a cup. And then I'm doing 1 teaspoon of salt, as well as about half a teaspoon of black pepper. And then I also did about a teaspoon of garlic powder, but this is open, so you guys can totally add whatever seasonings you want. I've definitely experimented with this, but this is a pretty safe go-to recipe for me, so that is what I did on this particular day. And now I'm just adding in the rest of my ingredients. So I'm adding in that softened bell pepper. I'm also adding in the spinach. And then I did decide to add in some cheese as well. I almost always do the cheese. You could put your cheese on top, but I usually will just add it right in. And I like how it's kind of melted into the egg cups. So I did probably about a cup of the Colby and Monterey Jack cheese. And then I'm just getting all of that mixed together. And then I'm just spraying my muffin tin with a little bit of olive oil. You do want to make sure that they're sprayed really well so the eggs don't stick. And you see me spraying 2 of them. I actually only ended up filling up 1 of the muffin tins. This made exactly 12 eggs, but of course your amounts might vary a little bit depending on how many veggies you add and everything. So you might have a little bit more eggs or a little bit less, but I am just filling them almost to the top. I like to fill mine pretty full, and they're kind of going to puff up and then they go back down. So I've never really had them like totally overflow or anything. They just kind of puff up, and then when you pull them out of the oven, they kind of go back to like a normal muffin type of size. So just get all of these filled up and ready to go in the oven. And I bake these in a 350-degree oven for right around 20 minutes. And then when they come out, I like to just put them on a cooling rack to cool right away. I typically will put some of mine in the fridge and then some of them in the freezer. They freeze really well. That's one of the things I love about this recipe. So I almost always have these in the freezer, but you do want to make sure that they're cooled off really, really well before storing them. On this particular day, I popped pretty much all of them into a little storage container, and I just stuck these right in the freezer like this once they were cooled off. And then I also set aside a couple for us to have for lunch. So that is it for this super easy little breakfast or meal idea. Seriously, one of my favorites. Highly recommend this recipe. Next up, I am prepping a veggie for the week. If you guys have watched a lot of my videos, you probably know that I like to have a veggie ready to go in the fridge for the kids so I can just warm something up if I don't have leftovers or anything like that. So these are like the veggies I typically will warm up for the kids for lunch. So I had some sweet potatoes to use up, so that is what you see me washing up here. I usually will keep the skins on my sweet potatoes, and then when I give them to my kids, I'll usually actually just peel the skins off. I really hate peeling potatoes, so that's just my quick and easy way of doing it, and I feel like the potatoes are like stay a little bit more solid that way. So here you see me cutting off any areas that just like didn't look the best or whatever. I'm not totally peeling them or anything, but there were a few spots on these potatoes where they just had like little notches, so I'm just getting all of those cut out before actually cutting all the potatoes up. And then I'm just getting all of my sweet potatoes cut up into little fry shape. When I make mine, I do tend to make mine on the thicker side because I want them to stay a little bit softer. If you want them to become more crispy, I would say get them a little bit thinner and cut them like that. And also, if you are cutting up sweet potatoes, please make sure you have a really sharp knife because you will cut yourself otherwise. I always use the Kyocera brand ceramic cutting knives. I always have them linked in my bio just from Amazon, but we've had ours for about 3 years and they seriously have held up so well. They have not dulled at all because they're ceramic and they work so good. They're so sharp. So if you are on the hunt for some good knives, I definitely recommend these ones, but whatever you're using, just make sure it's a really nice sharp knife. And then to season these up, I'm just coating them with a little bit of olive oil. I don't do too crazy much. I would say I probably add about a tablespoon, but I just eyeball it. And then for seasoning, guys, all I do is cinnamon. You could totally do them a little bit more savory and do like salt and pepper, garlic powder, that sort of thing. But my kids love these sweet potatoes with cinnamon, so that's what I do. I love that there's no salt for them, and they seriously taste so good. So if you have little kids, definitely try this recipe out because my kids love sweet potatoes. They're seriously one of their favorites. They absolutely love them. And I usually will keep these in the freezer. So they keep really well and they're just super convenient to have on hand. When it comes to baking these, I usually bake mine at around 425 degrees, and mine usually take about 22 minutes per side. I do flip them halfway through, but it is going to vary depending on the thickness that you made your potatoes. So I would say time them for around 20 minutes and then flip them over and put them in for another 20 minutes. And then you may need to increase the cooking time just depending on how thick you cut them. And here you actually can tell that they are frozen. After they come out of the oven, I let them cool, and then I pop them actually into the freezer and let them fully cool and freeze a little bit. So then when I put them into a storage container, they're not totally stuck together. So that's just a little tip. Make sure you go ahead and flash freeze those if you are wanting to freeze them before putting them in a container. This next little hack is just about the easiest thing ever, but it's something that I do pretty much every week now. I've just found that it makes my life so much easier. My husband likes to take nuts with him to work, whether it's cashews, almonds, peanuts, whatever it is, and he'll usually take them pretty much every single day. He likes a good high protein snack. So I've just learned that at the beginning of the week, I like to just throw all of those right into containers. So then when I actually go to pack his lunches, all I have to do is throw that little container in and it's already ready to go. But you could totally do this with any of your kids' snacks, whether it's goldfish, pretzels, it could be anything, but it's just kind of handy to have it ready to go in your pantry in a little container. Next up, I am making one of my favorite sweet little treats to give to Easton. He is always asking me for popsicles, and I just try not to give them to him a lot because, of course, they're pretty much pure sugar. So this is a great alternative that he really likes, and it's also not as messy as normal yogurt. But I actually just take normal yogurt. This is vanilla Greek yogurt, and all I'm doing is putting this into a Ziploc bag, and then I'm going to cut that little corner off and put little dots onto a lined baking sheet. And then you're just going to pop them in the freezer. So they're basically frozen little drops of yogurt, and he loves these. He thinks he's getting a treat, and it's a win-win for me because, it's not messy and it's also pretty healthy for him. It's a little protein since I'm using Greek yogurt. So if you've never tried this out, I definitely recommend it if you have kids or even if you're me because, I like munching on these. They taste really good, and if I'm craving something sweet, this is a really good alternative. So that is what you see me doing here. This is obviously really self-explanatory. When you cut the corner off, you're just going to put little dollops right onto your baking sheet. The key here, though, is you definitely want to make sure that it's a lined baking sheet, whether it's wax paper or parchment paper, either will work, or even aluminum foil would probably work okay for this too. I guess I've never used it, but I'm sure it would work just fine. And then all you got to do is put little dots on there, pop these into your freezer. I think I stuck mine in for around an hour, and that's it. It's about the simplest snack you're going to make for your kid ever, and Easton seriously loves this one. And then once they are completely frozen, I would say I had mine in there for right around an hour and they were good. So then I'm just pulling them out and putting them right into a little Tupperware. I would say put them in something plastic so you can put them in the freezer, or if you have a freezer safe glass container, that works perfect too, or even a little Ziploc baggie I've done before and that works just fine as well. But we go through these pretty quick. I would say this amount here lasts for probably a week, but Easton loves them for a snack. I'll even sometimes give them to him for breakfast because it's yogurt, so I don't really care. It's a good healthy thing for him to eat, and yeah, it's a really yummy snack, and I definitely steal some of these throughout the week because they are just too yummy. This next recipe is actually going to be one that I just kind of made up on my own. I've made it a couple times in the last month or so, and I really like how these are turning out. It's a really good, healthier alternative to a granola bar. I'm not saying it's completely healthy. It does have chocolate chips in it, but I feel like I know exactly what's in them, and I like that. Whereas when you look at the back of a granola bar, and it's just, it's not always the most clean ingredients. So I'm just starting off with 2 mashed bananas, and yes, mine look a little bit funny. That's because they were in the freezer and I just thawed them out. So that's why they look a little bit darker. So if you have old bananas, that's kind of what you're going to want to use because they're just really nice and sweet. So the bananas are going to add a ton of sweetness, but then I'm also adding in a cup of unsweetened applesauce. It is unsweetened, so it's not going to be super sweet, but I really like the combination of applesauce and the bananas. I feel like if you do just one or the other, it doesn't have quite the same effect, but this combination works really well. And then I'm also adding in a teaspoon of salt as well as a teaspoon of just ground cinnamon. I'm always trying to sneak in any sort of extra health benefits, so here I'm just adding in 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, and then I'm also adding in right around 2 teaspoons of vanilla and half a teaspoon of baking powder. For some extra sweetness, I'm adding in about a 1/3 cup of sugar. I'm sure you could use honey as well, but I've never tried it like that. And then I'm adding in 3 cups of old-fashioned oats. I would say you want to use the old-fashioned ones and not the quick oats. I've never tried the quick oats, but I feel like I just always prefer old-fashioned, so that's what I would recommend using. And then I'm also adding in a cup of flour. So I did half a cup of whole wheat flour, and then I did half a cup of regular all-purpose flour. And then I did decide to add in a little bit of extra oats. I would say I maybe added like a 1/4 cup extra. You can just kind of go until you get the consistency that you want. And then again, of course, you're going to want a little bit of chocolate in there because, you know, your girl likes chocolate and my kid likes chocolate. So I added probably like a 3/4 of a cup of chocolate chips. But of course, you can do more or less depending on how sweet that you want yours. And then I just put these into a oiled pan. I'm just spraying mine with a little bit of olive oil. And mine is, I think it's an 8 by 10 pan, but you could definitely use a 9 by 13 if you want yours a little bit thinner. With this pan, mine definitely turned out a little bit on the thicker side. So of course you can just do whatever pan size that you prefer. And you're just gonna get all of that spread out into your pan. And then I just bake these in a 350-degree oven for 28 minutes. After those 28 minutes are up, then I will actually turn the oven off, but I will let them stay in there for another 20 minutes. This allows them to cook fully, but the edges don't get too crispy, and that is just how I like them. That is my little secret to making really yummy, kind of chewy granola bars. And then I let them cool and pull them out and cut them into bars. I usually will just pop mine right into my freezer and store them that way. They last for quite a while in there, and then I will just pull out a few as needed. And these are super delicious and a little bit healthier than your average granola bar. And you know the exact ingredients that you're putting in them, which is something that I love. But that is actually going to wrap up today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you go ahead and give it a thumbs up so I know that you liked it, and I will continue making more of these. I do post a new What's for Dinner video every single Sunday, so if you like that type of content, make sure you are subscribed. But that is it for today's video. I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a